Have you ever been judged? Not by what you did, not by who you were, but by the color of your skin and the shoes on your feet? The woman standing at the polished marble counter of the Monarch Hotel didn't look like a billionaire. Her coat was damp from the spring drizzle, her jeans creased from travel, and her curls pulled back in a simple twist. No one in that grand lobby had the faintest clue that this woman Marissa Cole could buy the hotel 10 times over and not even blink. But that's exactly why she was there. Marissa wasn't just another guest. She was the president and CEO of Colwood Hospitality Group, the company that owned the Monarch Hotel and 17 other luxury properties across the U.S., and she had come for answers. For months, troubling reports had trickled in subtle, coded, easy to dismiss if you weren't paying attention. Guest surveys from people of color described feeling unwelcome, receiving colder service, waiting longer to check in, but nothing was concrete. The hotel's managers claimed everything was fine. That's when Marissa knew she had to go see for herself. No suits, no entourage, no title. Just Marissa in street clothes with a carry-on suitcase and a quiet determination to uncover the truth. She stood in line at the check-in desk for 15 minutes, watching. A white businessman in a tailored gray suit was greeted with a smile, handed his room keys, and offered a complimentary drink. An Asian couple was next, barely a nod, no smile, and a longer than necessary wait as the clerk typed away on her computer with exaggerated slowness. A Latino family with 2 kids was directed to a different counter entirely. That desk handles family reservations, the clerk said, even though the counters were identical. Marissa's jaw tightened. She'd seen enough. Now it was her turn. She stepped forward, her phone already showing her reservation confirmation. "Good afternoon," she said calmly, handing over her ID and card. "I have a reservation for tonight, Marissa Cole." The front desk agent, a young woman named Tina, glanced at the ID, then gave Marissa a slow once-over. She hesitated. "One moment, please," Tina said flatly. She clicked around on the screen for a beat, then looked up. "I'm not seeing your reservation. Are you sure this is the right hotel?" Marissa remained calm. "Yes, here's the confirmation." Tina didn't even look at the phone. "Unfortunately, our system shows we're fully booked. You might want to try one of the budget options a few blocks away." A few feet down the counter, a white couple approached walk-ins. No reservation. A different agent beamed at them. "Welcome to the Monarch. We do have rooms available tonight, including a lovely suite with a city view." Marissa heard it, loud and clear. Her expression didn't change, but something in her spine straightened. "I'd like to speak with a manager, please," she said. Tina raised an eyebrow. "Our manager's busy, ma'am, and again, we don't have any rooms available." More staff began to hover nearby. The kind of quiet crowd that forms when someone different is being told, in subtle but unmistakable ways, "You don't belong here." Then he arrived. Richard Bannister, the general manager, strode into the lobby like he owned it. Salt and pepper hair, crisp navy suit, Italian leather shoes. He looked down his nose at Marissa before turning to Tina. "What's the issue here?" he asked. Tina gestured vaguely toward Marissa. "She claims to have a reservation, but there's nothing in the system." Richard turned to her, smile practiced but hollow. "I'm Richard Bannister, general manager. I understand there's been a mix-up?" Marissa showed him the reservation on her phone. "There's no mix-up. I booked a premium king room 3 days ago." He glanced at it for less than a second before shaking his head. "Our system is quite reliable, I'm afraid, and I must be honest. The Monarch is a place for a certain kind of guest. You may feel more comfortable elsewhere." Her card was still on the counter, a platinum card. He didn't even look at it. Marissa took a breath, steady and deep. "So you're refusing me service? Because I'm black?" Silence fell. The lobby, moments ago bustling, froze in a kind of polite horror. A security guard edged closer, just in case this woman became difficult. Richard's lips thinned. "We reserve the right to refuse service to anyone we believe may be disruptive." He turned to Tina. "Please ask her to leave. Now." Marissa didn't move. She simply reached for her phone and made a call. Her voice dropped into something calm, controlled, commanding. "This is Marissa Cole," she said. "I'm at the Monarch Hotel. Bring her in." Richard gave a short laugh. "Who exactly do you think you're calling?" But Marissa didn't answer. She just stood there dignified, still, and utterly unbothered by his disbelief. Because in exactly 7 minutes, everything about the Monarch Hotel was going to change. Richard Bannister folded his arms with smug finality, completely convinced this woman, this outsider in sneakers, was bluffing. He didn't know the name Marissa Cole. He didn't recognize her calm as control, or her silence as strategy. And around the grand lobby, the staff seemed to mirror his confidence. Tina leaned casually on the desk, arms crossed. A few other clerks gathered just within earshot, their eyes flicking toward the woman still standing at the counter. "She should have left by now," one whispered. Marissa didn't flinch. She stood in the exact same spot, not an inch moved, her platinum card still on the counter, unacknowledged, untouched, unworthy in their eyes. Then, Precisely at 3:17 p.m., the Monarch's heavy double doors swung open. A tall woman in a gray power suit entered the lobby like a thunderclap. Eyes sharp, heels sharp, voice sharper. "Richard, step away from her. Right now." Gasps rippled. "Elaine?" Tina stammered, backing up. Two didn't know she was coming. Because no one did. Elaine Masters, Chief Operating Officer of Colwood Hospitality, didn't announce her arrivals. She made them. Richard turned, confusion tugging at his otherwise polished expression. "Excuse me, but I'm handling a situation." Elaine cut him off, fire in her voice. "Do you even know who you've just humiliated in front of half your staff and every guest in this lobby?" Her hand pointed straight at Marissa. For a breathless second, no one moved. Then Elaine delivered the line that would haunt Richard Bannister's career forever. "This is Marissa Cole, owner of this hotel, your boss." Richard blinked once. Twice. His face went sheet white. Tina's hand flew to her mouth. The security guard took a full step back, as if the weight of the truth had physically pushed him. "That," Richard began, voice dry, "that can't be." "It is," Marissa said softly, "and I've been here for 40 minutes, watching, listening, recording." Elaine tapped her tablet. "Security footage has been reviewed in real time. Every interaction, every double standard, every denial of service to walk-in white guests versus those with confirmed reservations who happen to be people of color." The entire lobby had frozen. The marble pillars, the velvet chairs, the massive floral centerpiece in the middle of the lobby, they were no longer part of an elegant hotel, but part of a courtroom. The trial was live. And everyone was watching. "You humiliated the CEO of the company that pays your salary," Elaine continued, her voice ablaze. "But more than that, you exposed the toxic rot inside this place, and now we're going to cut it out." Richard finally found his voice strained, desperate. "Marissa," the second didn't know. "Had I known?" She raised a hand, just a single, quiet gesture. "That's the problem, Richard," she said. "It only mattered when you knew who I was." Then her voice hardened. "But I came here to find out how you treat people when you think they're no one." Murmurs swept through the lobby. Guests exchanged glances. A middle-aged black woman sitting in the lounge stood slowly, eyes locked on Marissa, silently nodding. Tina began to cry, her cheeks streaked with mascara. "Two didn't mean to, I was just following Richard's example," she sobbed. "That's exactly what you did," Elaine said sharply. "And now you're both done." Marissa's words were soft, final. "Richard Bannister, you're terminated. Effective immediately. Tina, the same." Security hesitated. "You heard her," Elaine snapped. "Escort them out. Now." Tina collapsed into a chair. Richard tried to plead, but security had already moved. The cameras caught it all: the disbelief, the stunned silence of staff, the quiet cheers of vindication from guests who had endured the same treatment for years. As they were escorted out, Marissa turned to face the remaining employees. Her tone wasn't angry, it wasn't vengeful. It was crystal clear. What happened today isn't just about two people. It's about a culture, this culture, that allows bias to hide behind fake smiles and polished uniforms. But that ends now. No one said a word. "Starting tomorrow morning," she added, "this hotel will close for 48 hours. We're beginning mandatory diversity retraining, new leadership, new policies, and new standards based on fairness, not faces." Then she paused and added one more thing. "You should know, I didn't come here to be recognized. I came here to be ignored, because that's when people show you who they really are." 2 days later, the Monarch Hotel's grand ballroom looked nothing like the glamorous venue that once hosted champagne galas and Fortune 500 executives. The velvet drapes had been pulled back. The chandeliers were dimmed. And in their place stood folding chairs, projection screens, and 3 massive words across the wall. "We start here." The entire staff was seated housekeepers in uniform, servers from the rooftop lounge, bellhops, concierges, and front desk agents. No one was excused, no one was too senior, no one too new. Marissa Cole stood at the front, not in jeans this time, but in a crisp burgundy blazer that radiated elegance and clarity of purpose. On either side of her were Elaine Masters, Colorado O, and Gabriel Ramos, a renowned expert in diversity and cultural bias training, flown in from New York just hours before. The room was quiet, no music, no small talk, just the low hum of truth about to land. 3 days ago, Marissa began, her voice even and full, "I walked into this hotel, unnoticed, not as your CEO, but as just another guest. And what I experienced was not just unprofessional, it was unacceptable. No one dared look away. Bias doesn't always come wearing a white hood," she continued. "Sometimes it wears a name tag, a tie, a smile that fades just a little too quickly when the wrong person walks through the door." Her words hung heavy, and yet they didn't crush. They called. Behind her, a screen lit up with raw data. Satisfaction scores sorted by demographics. Black guests, Hispanic guests, Asian guests, white guests. The differences were undeniable. The room shifted, some staff leaned forward, others looked down, but they listened. Gabriel stepped in next, a calm presence. No lectures, just real, human reflection. He played videos, anonymous footage of staff interactions across different Pinnacle hotels. Moments of hesitation, subtle rejections, even jokes that felt safe, until played back in full context. Then came the exercises. Role-playing. Eye contact drills. Questions like, who did you last give an upgrade to? What name made you triple, check a credit card? Which accent made you slow your words like you were speaking to a child? Some grew defensive. Others wept. One concierge, an older gentleman named Paul, stood up. I always thought I was just being efficient, he said quietly. But watching myself, watching how I treated that family, I see it now. I assumed they wouldn't tip. I assumed they didn't belong. A wave of silence followed. Not judgment, just recognition. A front desk agent named Lisa, barely 24, raised her hand. I laughed when Tina made jokes about accents. I didn't say anything. I thought it wasn't my place. Marissa looked at her and nodded gently. It's always your place to protect someone's dignity, even when it's not convenient. Then she paused, scanned the room, and said something few CEOs ever dare say. This is not just a training. This is an invitation to become better human beings. The room breathed. Later that afternoon, during breakout sessions, something changed. The tone, the posture, the vulnerability. An older black bellhop named Edwin, who'd been with Monarch for 17 years, shared what it felt like to work in a place that never promoted people who looked like him. A Filipina housekeeper named Celine spoke about being called the help by a guest, and no manager stepping in. By the end of the day, the air was heavier, but it was honest, real. It felt like shedding an old skin. Before everyone left, Marissa made one final announcement. I know many of you are wondering who will take Richard Bannister's place. Whispers sparked. I want to introduce you to someone who knows what it feels like to be denied. Who knows what it means to rebuild trust. From the side door walked in a woman in her late 30s, poised, composed, and radiant with resolve, Sofia Alvarez. She was once the assistant GM at the San Francisco property, and years ago had been turned away by the monarch herself, even while traveling on official business. But she didn't quit. She stayed, grew, led. And now, she had come back not for revenge, but for responsibility. The staff applauded. Some stood. Marissa smiled. This is what leadership looks like, she said. It doesn't come from power. It comes from purpose. 6 months later, the Monarch Hotel looked the same on the outside's gleaming facade. The gold-trimmed revolving doors, the uniformed valet opening cars with white gloves. But inside, everything had changed. Marissa Cole returned once more, dressed plainly, a blazer over jeans, her hair pulled into a low twist. This time, there was no storm in her chest, no surveillance mission, no sting operation. She wasn't here to catch anyone. She was here to see what growth looked like. As she stepped into the lobby, her eyes scanned the front desk. There were no hushed laughs, no averted gazes. Instead, a team of diverse staff greeted each guest with identical warmth. Black, white, Latino, Asian, young, old, business or backpacker, it didn't matter. Everyone mattered. Then she saw it. Right behind the front desk, modest but unmistakable, was a new sign etched in glass. At Monarch, dignity is not a perk, it's a promise. Beneath it was a phone number, a direct line to the corporate office, her office. Marissa took a quiet breath. She didn't smile yet. She waited. An elderly black couple entered, the man leaning heavily on a cane, the kind of couple that, months ago, might have been treated like a nuisance or redirected to a side counter. This time, a young front desk agent stood up, walked around the desk, and offered the gentleman a chair while his wife checked them in. Happy 50th anniversary, she said brightly after glancing at the notes. We've upgraded your suite and arranged champagne service. Marissa exhaled. She turned and wandered into the cafe. A group of employees were laughing over coffee before their shifts. Among them, Edwin, the bellhop, sat with Sofia Alvarez, the new general manager. He caught sight of Marissa and gave a small nod. She returned it, silently. Then her phone buzzed. It was a company-wide notification, the latest guest satisfaction survey results. She opened it. For the first time since Monarch opened its doors, satisfaction scores were equal across all demographics. In fact, they had risen to the highest levels in company history. It wasn't just good ethics. It was good business. But Marissa didn't need a graph to tell her that. As she walked past the concierge stand, she overheard a white tourist asking for food recommendations. Honestly, the concierge replied with a grin, depends on what you love and not what I think you love. That line made her stop. She smiled to herself. A tiny thing, but not tiny at all. It meant someone, somewhere, had been listening. And that was everything. Outside the Monarch, life in Chicago moved on. Cars honked, people hurried past. But within these walls, a new kind of luxury had taken root, rooted in respect, not robes; dignity, not doorman; humanity, not hierarchy. Before she left, Marissa paused at the front entrance, then turned back. One last look. This was the same place that had once told her she didn't belong. And now? It bore her fingerprints, her vision, her voice. She didn't need applause. She just needed to know that the next woman who looked like her, who dressed like her, who carried herself with quiet power, would never be told to try a budget hotel down the street. And maybe that's the real mark of leadership. Not a title, not a nameplate, but what stays behind when you've left the room. So now, let me ask you, have you ever been underestimated until you weren't? Have you ever seen someone turn silent dignity into world-shaking change? If this story spoke to something deep in you, drop a comment, share it, because sometimes the people we overlook are the ones who remake the world.